To Canberra now, the Treasurer has responded to input from the International Monetary Fund for Australia to wind back tax breaks and increase GST to repair the economy. Live now to our Sky News political reporter Joel Philp. Joel, did the Treasurer actually seem keen to take the IMF's advice?
Well, she was willing to say that this IMF report was a glowing endorsement of the Albanese government, but of course, this report did push for a variety of controversial tax reforms, from winding back capital gains concessions on the family home, broadening the GST base to ease the tax burden on workers, and then perhaps taking aim at high-income workers through an overhaul of those planned Stage 3 tax cuts. Now, it was the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, who really led a push by the government last year to very closely look at these tax cuts and whether they could be overhauled in some way. They're, of course, planned for the future. But he said today that while his government will be looking at tax reforms in the upcoming May budget, when it comes to those Stage 3 tax cuts, changes in that area aren't planned and aren't his priority right now.
You know, obviously we listen respectfully when those kind of suggestions are made to us, but the government's approach to the Stage 3 tax cuts hasn't changed. We've got other priorities in the budget. You'll see them in May.
As high commodity prices look to push the budget into a surplus potentially for this coming year, in the years ahead, the question is how to fill that budget bottom line to make sure there is not a deficit. The Treasurer appeared to be looking at superannuation and concessions around taxes in that area to fix the problem.
Part of making superannuation the best version of itself is making sure that it can be sustainable.
And Joel, we see that parliamentary hearing into the cost of living continuing. What have we learnt from that today?
Well, Ash, the focus this morning has been on the energy sector, and the Australian Energy Council has actually spoken about that intervention that the federal and state governments had into the coal and gas markets last year, saying that it effectively spooked the markets and when it comes to speculative energy prices, caused the biggest drop in that market in history. Take a listen.
I think the market were quite surprised at the aggressiveness of the nature of that intervention, and hence you saw quite a tremendous fall in November, I think it is, late November, and that was actually record fall in terms of a shift in one day. The futures market moved more than it ever has in history with the announcement of those interventions.
Ash, and at that parliamentary hearing this afternoon, we'll be hearing more about inflation's impact on housing and food prices.
Joel Philp, thank you.